We are members of the Razzle's 7th period astronomy class, and our topic was to talk about the Apollo program, which was established in 1969 by JFK in order to get men or astronauts out on the moon. There was a total of 11 programs that managed to make out into space, and some of them on the moon. First one started with Apollo 1, which was a disaster. It was some sort of mechanical issue with the launch pad. And the mission was to be the first crew flight of Apollo, and was scheduled to launch February 21st, 1967. Astronauts Virgil Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee lost their lives when a fire swept through the command module of the ship. The exhaustive investigation of the fire and extensive reworking of the Apollo command module postponed crew launches until NASA officials cleared them for flight. The Apollo's missions 2 through 6 were failures and were rescheduled because of mechanical issues. And then Apollo 7 came around. The mission objective of it was the primary objectives of the Apollo 7 engineering test flight were simple: demonstrate command and service module, or CSM, and crew performance. Demonstrate crew, space vehicle, and mission support performances as well, and faculties during a crewed CSM mission, and demonstrate CSM rendezvous capability carried out by the aerodynamic nose cone. And then the Apollo 8 mission objective was the mission objective for Apollo 8 included a coordinated performance of the crew. The command and service module, or CSM, of the support facilities. The mission also was to demonstrate transular injection.
So then Apollo 9 was the primary thing to do was so it was a test to orbit the Earth, and Apollo 10 was to get a spacecraft onto on the moon. And Apollo 11 mission was I'm pretty sure that was a test of some of a spacecraft for a test. So 12. Oh, I could not. I can find Apollo 12, so I skipped it. And so Apollo 13 was to launch to get to a certain part of our moon, and that was a fail because there was the problem with the spacecraft, so they had to use basically the gravity of the moon to launch their way back home.
Apollo 15 was the first of the Apollo J missions capable of a longer stay time on the moon and greater surface mobility. There were 4 primary objectives falling in the general categories of lunar surface science, lunar orbital science, and engineering operational. The mission objectives were to explore the Handley Apennine region, set up and activate lunar surface scientific experiments, make engineering evaluations of new Apollo experiment, and conduct lunar orbital experiments and photographic tasks. Exploration and geological investigations at the Handley Apennine landing site were enhanced by the addition of the Lunar Roving Vehicle, or LRV. Setup of the Apollo Lunar Surface Experiments Package, or ALS EP, was the third in a trio of operating ALS EPs on Apollo 12, 14, and 15. Orbital science experiments were conducted in any array of instruments and cameras in the Scientific Instrument Module, or SIM, Bay. Engineering and operational objectives included evaluations of modifications to Lunar Module, or LM, made for carrying a heavier payload and for a lunar stay time of almost 3 days. Changes to the Apollo spacesuit and the Portable Life Support System, or PLSS, were evaluated, and performance of the Lunar Roving Vehicle and the other new J mission equipment that went with it. Lunar Communications Relay Unit, or LCRU, and the Ground Controlled Television Assembly, or GCTA.
Apollo 16 mission objectives. 3 primary objectives were: 1. To inspect, survey, and sample materials and surface features at a selected landing site in the Descartes region. 2. Emplace and activate surface experiments. And 3. Conduct in-flight experiments and photographic tasks from lunar orbit. Additional objectives included performance of experiments requiring zero gravity and engineering evaluation of spacecraft and equipment. The Descartes region site is in a highlands region of the moon's southeast quadrant. Characterized by hilly, grooved, furrowed terrain, it was selected as an outstanding location for sampling 2 volcanic constructional units of the highlands, the Cayley Formation and the Camp Plateau. The Apollo Lunar Service Experiments Package, or ALS EP, was the first such station to become operational after Apollos 12, 14, and 15.
Apollo 14 mission objective. The primary objectives of this mission were to explore the Frey, I have no idea what that says, region centered around the, I can't talk today. Deployment of the Apollo Lunar Surface Scientific why can't I talk today? I don't like experiments package of the ALS EP. Lunar field I can't talk. I don't like it.
Okay.
Apollo 17 mission objective. The lunar landing site was the Taurus, Littoral, Highlands, and Valley area. This site was picked for Apollo 17 as a location where rocks both older and younger than those previously returned from those other Apollo missions, as well as from Luna 16 and 20 missions, might be found. The mission was the final in a series of 3 J-type missions planned for the Apollo program. These J-type missions can be distinguished from previous G and H series missions by extended hardware capability, larger scientific payload capacity, and by the use of the battery-powered Lunar Roving Vehicle, or LRV. Scientific objectives of the Apollo 17 mission included geological surveying and sampling of materials and surface features in a pre-selected area of the Taurus-Littrow region, deploying and activating surface experiments and conducting in-flight experiments and photographic tasks during lunar orbit and trans-Earth coasts. These objectives included deployed experiments such as the Apollo Lunar Service Experience Package, or ALS EP, for the Heat Flow Experiment, Lunar Seismic Profiling, or LSP, Lunar Surface Gravimeter, or LSG, Lunar Atmospheric Composition Experiment, or LACE, and Lunar Ejecta and Meteorites, or LEAM. This mission also included lunar sampling and lunar orbital experiments. Biomedical experiments included the BioStack-2 experiment and the BioCore experiment.
So, the 2 gems of this Apollo. Are you going to hop up here and say this?
I was going to say if anyone had any questions I could possibly answer.
Anybody? All right, the 2 gems, Apollo 11. You kind of glossed over that. That is where we fulfilled our goal of landing on the moon. And Neil Armstrong, you ever heard of this historic moment? He's walking down the ladder of the lander, and as he gets ready to step onto the moon, he says, "One small step for man, one giant leap for
Mankind."
Yes, huge. That was huge. It bolstered the morale of every American. We'd beaten the Soviets to the moon. We were the preeminent space program. And then came along Apollo 13. And it was an explosion of a gas tank halfway there to the moon. And we shouldn't have been able to bring him back. But a bunch of smart people, this is just like what they're showing on The Martian. They got together and figured out how they could put everything together to keep these people alive. And I'm going to have you watch that video. That is a great video, Apollo 13. And could have been their greatest moment ever, because they did get all those men back. Yes?
And a fun fact about that Apollo 13 mission, it was rumored that they fixed the problem mostly, that the gas blowing up. It's rumored that the main tool that they used to fix it was duct tape.
It's true. It's true. They used duct tape and put filters together that wouldn't normally have fit together, and they taped them all together to keep all the astronauts from dying from carbon dioxide, too much carbon dioxide. They froze, but they got them back alive. All right, let's hear it for them.